So here are 7 signs of Asperger syndrome in adults that you need to know. Check it out. Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Dan. I have a diagnosis of Asperger syndrome, ADHD, OCD and dyslexia, and I make weekly videos all about this stuff. So if you're new around here and you want to learn more, remember to hit the subscribe button down below by clicking the notification bell. And if you're watching on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, then you can follow this page to see more videos just like this. Oh, and just for your information, guys, I'm giving away Karma Pro ear defenders. These are basically really discreet ear defenders that you can put in your ears or lower the volume but not the quality. I'm giving this away for free to one lucky viewer, so make sure you stick around to the end of the video to make sure you know how to enter this competition so you could be a winner of these awesome earphones. Okay, so Asperger syndrome in adults, it's not always easy to spot. Here are 7 of the most interesting ones, and I know you're going to love it. Okay, the first one is conversations that feel like script. People with autism and Asperger syndrome will come across as if the conversation they are having with you is scripted. And it may sound a bit like robotic and unorganic when you're talking to somebody with autism. And this is because the person has learn a script to be able to converse in that social setting. Now, autism is something very interesting. It actually impacts the person's ability to communicate socially in a way that is acceptable for neurotypical people, meaning people who are non-autistic. So autistic individuals have to come up with ways to understand and attain social conventions when in those situations. So they will script or rehearse what to say when they're around other people. And this is very common, and it is something that I see across the board of people with autism, and I myself have done this for many years. Okay, so number 2 is hyperfixation on specific special interests. Now, one of my special interests is Fight Club, which means that I know everything there is to know about Fight Club. I could probably tell you the movie verbatim, meaning I can tell you anything that happens in it just because I'm obsessed with it. I've seen it 100 times. I know everything about it. I've even got a piece of the Fight Club movie here in my office. I even have a merch line that's coming out this year, 2025, that's based on the movie Fight Club and the franchise. Now, autistic individuals will do this with certain things, and it could be anything. It could be a rock collection, stamp collections, coins, Lego, Harry Potter, Minecraft, you name it. They will be completely hyperfixated on it. They will know everything there is to know about it, and they probably won't stop talking about that thing. This is very interesting. It's very characteristic of somebody on the autism spectrum, especially Asperger syndrome, people who can verbally communicate. And it is one of the main indicators, actually, that if you are hyper fixated on something of a specific topic of interest, it's kind of like there's a level, like there's one level of somebody being interested and obsessed with something, then there's the hyperfixation, which is like autistic people's like straight in. Is very interesting. Okay, so number 3 is trouble with small talk. Now, small talk is kind of like when people, you go to the bus stop and you're waiting for your bus or whatever, I don't know how, but somebody's like, hey, nice weather we've been having this week, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, nobody cares about the weather. Like, it's kind of pointless. From my point of view, I'm like, it's pointless. What are you talking about? And I have this rule. I always say, like, if it's not gonna prove the conditions in which you exist in, what's the point of even saying the thing in the first place? And small talk is this kind of talk that people do just because they feel they have to say something in awkward silence. I'm fine standing in silence. Actually, I talk a lot about everything that I am really interested in. So, I mean, even if I was awkward in the moment, I wouldn't even care. I would just fill it with something that would add value to the existence of those people and urge them towards existence. But I'm just saying that small talk is difficult for autistic individuals to understand and engage with, because the very premise of small talk is to talk about things that are kind of almost superfluous in reality, which is a really interesting concept. Like, I'm not dissing people for wanting to engage in small talk. What I'm trying to say is that autistic individuals find it really difficult to engage in small talk, and the chit-chat becomes almost pointless and exhausting. And so because of that, you will notice that autistic individuals will have trouble with that across the board. Okay, here's a word from today's sponsor. I just want to interject in this video here to let you know that confidence is one of the main issues that holds autistic individuals back from their full potential. This is why I made a course which is the Chaos to Confidence in 90 Days Blueprint, which means I can take an autistic person from complete chaos to being very confident and acing their life. So if you're an autistic adult and you want access to this program, you can check it out. The link is in the description down below, or you can go to theaspieworld.com/C2C right now, the number 2, and get access to this program. Okay, so number 4 is sensory overload that happens very quickly. Now, people with Asperger syndrome, because they are more able in certain ways, which means they have the lower support needs, it means that they're able to kind of do some things that maybe people with high support needs can't do, like, go to a 9 to 5, or, have a relationship with, children or something. I'm not saying that everybody who is, has high support needs can't do this. I'm just saying typically this is kind of like what you say. And because you're around those situations, you're exposed to more stimuli or more overstimulation, which means that like noise, sound, demands are increased. And when those demands are increased, when your responsibilities increase, when all of those things are increased, also your exposure to potential overwhelm becomes way difficult to deal with. Like you have so many different variables going on at one time. Overloads can just happen like this. And what's an overload happen? You become overloaded and two things will happen. You'll either shut down and go in yourself and reclusive and not be able to talk, and you're like, oh, where did you go? Or you're going to explode with an emotional outrage, like, whatever. So it's a really interesting concept that autistic individuals with Asperger syndrome are more susceptible to overstimulation through sensory input than anybody else, because they are allowing themselves to be exposed to more sensory input. You know what I mean? And that's fascinating. It really is fascinating. And it's not just that. It could be bright lights. It could be a lot of different things. Like I was in my kids' mother's house yesterday, and my kids, I was doing like a bath time and bedtime with them, and my youngest was washing his hands in the sink and he was calling me daddy, and then my eldest was trying to show me a sticker of a capybara, and then they had music playing on the Alexa unit, and then also their mum, my ex, was trying to talk to me, and I was like, there's too much going on. I need to just categorize everything, turn the music down, one person start. So, there was a lot of overloads going on. I was very close to overstimulation there. But if they hadn't stopped one of those things, there would have been too much, like buckaroo. I'd have been like, quick kickback. Okay, so number 5 is that routines are essential to survival. And what this means is that people with Asperger syndrome love routines. That means that they love watching the same show every day. They love maybe sitting on the couch at the same spot every single day. They love having the same cereal every day. They love doing the same thing every day. They love this routine, or parts of the day to be completely routine. Why do they like this? Because the unpredictability from life can become extremely scary for autistic individuals. So people with Asperger syndrome, if they cannot predict what's happening next, you have the experience of what I like to call the lack of control, or the loss of control with your reality. You have no connection to reality because you feel like it's out of control. And when something's out of control, you feel just like you haven't got a grip on reality. You're like, what am I doing? Where am I? Where are all these things? And so people with Asperger syndrome love to have routines and stick to those routines, because those routines give them predictability. And if you have somewhat control in your life and your predictability in some things that you're doing within your day, that means that the things that are uncontrollable are more manageable, because you still have control over some parts of your reality. This is very interesting, and it's a really good hack actually. If you're a parent, caregiver, or somebody who is on the spectrum, and you want to increase the potential towards control in their life, add things in that you can control. So if like a kid doesn't want to go to school or the dentist or whatever, then you say, okay, well, that's out of our control, but you can give them control of what they want to watch on TV before going there, what they want to listen to in the car, where they want to sit in the car, what the temperature is going to be like in the car, all those kind of things. Maybe a snack to bring with them. Those control mechanisms are able to give them the sense of freedom, because they feel like they can control that reality a little bit more, and they feel like less that life is chaotic, because when something's out of control, it's chaotic, and nobody likes chaos, right? Okay, number 6 is social fatigue, and probably a hangover from social interaction. So people with Asperger syndrome will find themselves in situations where they'll be socially surrounded. They could be in the water cooler at work. It could be a team meeting in work. It could be hanging out with friends. It could be university. It could be any type of study, high school, whatever it is. You'll be around social circles of people who will expect certain things of you. And when you're in those social circles, you will be presenting yourself to be engaging with those people. But when you are engaging with those people, you are also making yourself very much aware to the fact that you're in a heightened state of understanding, which means that your survival rate will increase, because you're letting go a lot of adrenaline. So adrenaline runs through your body. You're trying to create a safe space, because your body's like, hey, this is very uncomfortable. You have to act in a certain way. And you have all these things. So you're in a heightened state of survival, right? But then when you go home, it's kind of like you just hit rock bottom. You could have a hangover, you could be completely overwhelmed, and you feel such fatigue from being in social situations. And an example of this, my girlfriend, bless her, I love it to pieces. And she used to travel, she was working remotely, but had to do one day in the office. So she traveled to the office, and then she spent all day in the office. And she has autism and ADHD also. Same as me, same diagnosis as me. And she'd be in the office, and the day after, she'd be so burnt out, she'd be almost unable to maneuver and do anything constructive because she'd be so burnt out from the social fatigue that she was experiencing from the office from the day before. Such an interesting concept. And we have to allow ways to deal with this. And one of the best ways actually is to implement sensory breaks throughout your day. So don't just work, or don't just socialize. Every kind of hour or two, take a small break to decompress and realign yourself or recalibrate your sensory input. Like, take a deep breath, have some water, smell something nice, taste something, and then go back to it. Very interesting and very important, actually. Okay, so number 7 is probably the most triggering thing, and it's the most difficult thing, which is the unwritten rules, or the struggle with unwritten rules. So people always have unwritten rules. And what I mean by this is there are ethically unwritten rules, like what is you're allowed to say, what you're not allowed to say, what's going to offend somebody, what isn't going to offend somebody. This filter is somewhat missing from people with Asperger's. The other thing is, if you're in a conversation with a group of people, you could be stood here and you don't know the distance in which you should stand appropriately far away or close to another person. Also, in addition, you could not know when it's your turn to talk, when it's your turn to stop talking, and if somebody is taking offense or wanting you to stop talking because they have lost interest and not paying attention. These whole social rules, these unwritten social rules that you just pick up from being a human being in a social environment, are something that human beings learn typically through social interactions as they grow up. People on the autism spectrum, people with Asperger syndrome and autism, they're trying to deal with the whole world as a whole. That's completely overwhelming. So all the social kind of cues take a back seat. And I'm not saying that you can't learn some of these, and you can definitely, but it's just that in that moment, it's very difficult. Now, guys, if you want to get your hands on this set of Karma Pro noise reduction headphones in earbuds, all you have to do is leave me a comment down below saying, Dan, I want these buds, and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. If you do all 3 of those things, you are in a chance to win these. The winner will be announced at the end of the month, and good luck to everybody who does. I will comment down below to tell you to email me whoever the winner is, and I just dropped them. So there you go. They also fell. All right, guys, see you in the next one. Peace.